Hi and hello, Watch fans, and welcome to another bite-sized edition of the Real Time Show. I'm here with Nicholas Freudiger and my good friend Marie, sitting next to me now while we record this podcast. Hi, Marie. Say hi to the fans.
Hi guys.
Wow, it was amazing. Such a polished media professional. Nicholas, you are doing very interesting things in the watchmaking industry. Perhaps you could give us an insight into your background and your brand.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicholas Freudiger. Starting with my background, so I've worked corporate industry for what I called a soda beverage company, American one in Zurich for about 4 years. And I did the hotel school in Lausanne. And after that, I actually quit my job to pursue my dream, which was really to create our own brand with my best friend. We're going to be celebrating 30 years friendship this year. So you can imagine we go a long way back. With 15 years old, at 15 years old, we had the idea of wanting to be significant towards an industry that is rich, that has participated in the wealth of Switzerland as well. So we're very proud of that industry, and we're like what I called Swiss-made kids.
Yeah.
We grew up in that industry. I did Basel World 2012 till 2019, and each year on my holiday, I would come and be the 8 days there present. So we're really a fan of that industry. And the idea with ID Geneve watches, this is a new identity we created. So ID stands for this identity. We're not just another watch brand. We want to go further than that. I think if we want to challenge the definition of luxury, and for us, it remains really to have the least impact possible and be an example and a vitrine for the eco-innovators out there in Europe and in the world. We do a lot of collabs with what I call circular startups. And we are the only and first impact native luxury watch brand in the industry. And I think that's very important for us. I mean, we start with a white page in front of us. And we are constantly, asking ourselves, are we doing this because it was done, in the last 200 years old, 200 years, or do we want to change the way we work today? So we're going to go much further than just the product itself. I think we have a holistic approach to circular economy, where, of course, we talk about the product, but it's not going to be only about the products. It's how you sell it, how do you market it, how do you create long-term partnerships, and what's your impact on all of those touch points. And we've started with Circular One in December 2020. Again, we'll be celebrating 3 years in December, so a very like a baby in the industry. But again, step by step, we're building our brand. We've started with Circular One, so a stainless steel that is 100% recycled. And this year we've launched as well Circular S, S for solar. Which is the first watch to be as well where the steel is remelted through a solar furnace, bringing down the impacts to 165 times less than the industry average.
So I did see this engraved on a case back, solar recycled stainless steel, and I was going to ask, what on earth is that? When the furnace that is used to melt down the steel is actually solar powered itself.
Exactly.
Incredible. And where can that be done?
So at the moment with our supplier, we did some pre-industrial work in France. But the idea is that our partner next year will open a solar furnace in Switzerland. I just want to mention it that it's not solar powered, so it's not really electricity that is solar powered, but it's really, really with the sunlight, right? It's convex mirrors where they are reflected that into a foyer. And then we melt the steel with the sun directly. No electricity, exactly.
Wow, that's some Bond villain kind of stuff right there.
Exactly. So no, of course, this is for the anecdote as well. An old technology is nothing new, right? It was just put to the side in the oil revolution where the oil was much cheaper at the time, but now we're going back actually in the past and find really very lean technologies to remelt the steel. And I think that's a great initiative.
So in what kind of era was a solar furnace used? Are we talking medieval times for making swords, or like more recently than that?
No, a bit more recent than that, of course. But it was really so the solar powered facility we work in France is part of the French government, so CNRS, to be working on sort of research programs, and it was built around it started in the 1940s, 50s, right? So before all the the biggest revolution of all what we call, the Fordism. And so this is very interesting, how it was set aside, because it was not, seen as something, interesting because of the resource it demanded. It still needed a lot of research, and we still need to, to adjust a lot and really make sure, how do we use that for the watchmaking industry. But for sure, it's a very promising technology, because in the end, we don't use 60 tons of steel. So for watches, for example, here we did 50 kilo bars in the remelting process. And I think that's very interesting. That's very niche, and that's perfect actually for our industry. So we want to support our partner Panatel who are doing that, and we'll be the first supporter as well of them bringing that to Switzerland as well.
So I'm holding in my hand here what I think is probably my favorite piece I can see on the table, a really lightweight carbon and steel watch with a black plated movement. And on the dial, it says regenerative carbon. So what on earth is that?
I'm so glad. I mean, you're one of the first one as well to see this novelty at Geneva Watch Days. This is what we're presenting here. It's a collaboration with a Swiss startup from the EPFL University in Lausanne. It's a spin-off from that EPFL lab, so for the composite lab material. And they have invented a material that is self-healable. I mean, this is very crazy as technology. So, I mean, you can scratch it, you can, hit it against the wall, and then basically you will heat that part again with just like a heat gun or like in a small oven, and it will take its original shape back. So this is really like what I call matrix technology, sort of very interesting. And the idea is, of course, to extend the life cycle of that product, as long as we can. And idea here, as you see from the other, it's the first time. So this is a limited edition, 20 pieces only, where we will have the logo of the startup at 12 o'clock here on top of ID Genève, right? That's the importance for ID Genève to shed light on eco-innovators, and solutions for the climate, right? Because I think they're providing, so the carbons, those fibers are 100% recycled from the windmill industry. So we have full traceability, and the resin has this Swiss technology that can, be self-healable. So what we call regenerative carbon. And that's very important for us to be the vitrine of those heroes of tomorrow. And that's perhaps the role of luxury, right? This role that I spoke about it in the beginning of our conversation, which is how can we, as the luxury industry, play an active role also in the ecological transition? And one, of course, there's many ways to do so, and a lot of brands are already doing so. We think that it's by promoting as well new technologies, new circular startups that are working with science to really find solutions. What better than a watch, right? To wear it and inspire people, with the beauty of the watch. And as you mentioned, I mean, that's my favorite as well by far. And I look forward to wearing it as well because I'm a watch collector.
It is certainly a poignant object for this kind of collaboration. And I guess because collaboration is so central to the identity of your brand, because the environment is something we all have to take care of together, putting other brands on the dial and wherever else they need to be makes perfect sense. So I guess you could be in a situation where you have a project, a single watch, which you create with multiple different startups. So, for example, you have the regenerative carbon here, but you could have a startup that's working on new packaging made out of mushrooms, for example.
So we do, for the packaging, we're working as well with mycelium from the UK. So let me show you actually. So the packaging, I don't know why I haven't brought it with me today, but I'll showcase it to you. So that's our first packaging, which is with a base of mycelium, travel pouch made out of wine residue, and a carton from a company where people with disabilities do that for us in Lausanne. And then we have as well a collaboration with Notpla based in the UK. We worked with them on the first packaging made out of seaweed. So those are seaweed fibers, and that can be dissolved within hours in water. So the idea is to have always this. So as well, the mycelium can be home composted. It will dissolve in within 45 days. And the idea is to rethink the role of packaging, of course, which is, I'm a watch collector myself, right? And when I first started thinking about this, I still have all the packagings at home, and I thought, but what does it serve, right? What purpose does it serve? And I think for sure there's this ceremonial aspect of it. What I call the ceremonial aspect is, when you receive it, it's an emotional part of the watch, right? It's really this moment when you open it, because it's a gift. It plays a role in your life as really an object that is filled with intimacy and emotionality. And so we wanted to make sure that we still keep that, but after that we transform it into something more positive than just staying at home and sort of having one after the other stack up in your basement. So and we thought, why not, have something much practical, much functional, like a travel pouch, and have the rest disappear and be recyclable. And we give this commitment to our consumer, to our clientele, that you'll never need to have the packaging while reselling the watch, right? So
I guess that's the big debate, really. Obviously, when we look at boxes from historic brands, we find ourselves thinking they are integral to the watch's value. But if a brand had never produced the box, then there would never be that issue. It's interesting, though, because you're a watch collector yourself. I'm a watch collector. I'm sick to death of my boxes. I'm sure you're sick to death of yours. But what about those people that aren't really into watches and maybe would like that luxury experience? Do you think that in any way, and I'm not going to tell you what I think about this, but I think it's obvious from my tone, do you think in any way that the absence of a box would put them off buying your watch?
I listen to the market and to the feedback from customers, but at the moment they love it. Actually, it's part of the experiential of buying an Geneve watch. This is really the amount of feedback we receive from people at home, right? After that, really going the extra mile, really testing the home compostability of the product. And I think this becomes part of the experience, right? So I think this is the added value, and especially if you're in the store, or whereas if you buy any other watch brand, that people, because right now we're with Watches of Switzerland and London and New York, and I think what we've realized is that they talk about the packaging as well, right? When they're bringing the watch after that to the client, and it adds up much more as an argument as well. And it's interesting to see that the people, when they explain, they realize that it makes sense because we're in 2023. And as I mentioned, right, I think the habits perhaps are also changing, right? And even myself, as you can imagine, I do still have some packagings left, but of course, then when I have my watches, I have them in one box, right, all together. And I realized that if you really have it, really the reality is that what's the real use of that except that it's taking the dust in your basement. So
I'm going to ask one more question about this regenerative carbon, and then we're going to end this bite-sized episode and get you back on the show for a full-length interview at some point, because I know Alain would like to talk to you as well. Regenerative carbon, can people who damage their watch at home fix it themselves, or would it have to theoretically come back for service? Do you want your customers putting the watch in the oven or putting it under a hairdryer? Is it possible?
No, it's not possible, and we will not recommend that for sure. I think if you look at our watches as well, right? If you look at the straps, people cannot do it by themselves. I think this is where we want to really focus on quality here. They can be exchanged by any watchmaker, the straps, for example, as well as the repairs on the watch itself. So that's the idea of quality that we want to have, and as also of making sure we don't degrade the watch if you can do it by yourself. So that's not the idea of that, but we are working on a global service sort of service centers that are going to be accredited. We're tackling that actually very very soon as a young brand. Really, in order to make sure you can do that after that in every continent, and that's very important for us. I mentioned this holistic approach to circular economy. We will offer as well on a digital platform circular services, right? And as you can see, the three models that we launched are based with the same watch case, and that's the idea of doing good with less, better with less, actually. And the idea is as well that we're not going to launch every year a new collection, but more use the power of modularity. I think modularity is not gadgetization, right? There is really a difference here. Modularity allows you to extend the life cycle of your product by making parts easily repairable and interchangeable. And gadgetization is just, offering 10,000 different choices for one watch, right? Here, the idea is that we do have different names for those collections, but in the future, we'll open up at different services on those parts. So we're really focusing on those circular services in the future.
Fascinating stuff. We cannot wait to talk to you more in the future, and keep up the good work. Thank God somebody's doing it.
Thank you, Rob.